Dr. Rohit Kumar, Academic Counselor, Indira Gandhi National Open University. I will teach you a paper BPSC 131. Paper name is Introduction to Political Theory. First of all, we will discuss about course contents. Course contents is divided in four blocks. Block 1 related to introducing political theory and block 2 and 3 related to some major concept of political theory and block 4 debates in political theory. Now, further, all paper is divided in four blocks. Now, blocks related to and every block is related to further units. Unit 1 and 2 related to block 1, introducing political theory. Unit 1 name is what is politics, and unit 2 what is political theory. There are some units in block 2. Some major concepts are liberty, equality, justice, and rights. And block 3, democracy, gender, citizenship, civil society, and state. Now, and block 4, debates in political side. Related some units are 11, 12, 13, and 14. Number 11, democracy versus economic growth, and 12, liberty versus censorship. 13, protective discrimination versus principle of fairness. Unit 14, family, law, and state. And now, today we will discuss about unit number 1, what is politics. Name is what is politics. There are some objectives related to unit 1. Number 1, can understand what is politics. Second, can explain the meaning of state. Third, describe and explain the concept of power. Fourth, discuss and explain about legitimized and delegitimized. Introduction. The term politics is driven from Greek word polis, meaning both city and state. Politics among the ancient Greeks was a new way of feeling, thinking, above all, being related to one's fellows. Greek politics studies dealt with constitutions and made generalizations about the relation between human nature and political associations. And the most powerful component was the theory of recurrent circle in Greek politics. Monarchies tend to degenerate into tyranny. Tyrannies are overthrown by aristocracies, which degenerate into oligarchies, exploiting the population, which are overthrown by democracies, which in turn degenerate into intolerable instability of mob rule, whereupon some powerful leader established himself as a monarch, and the circle begin all over again. Now, Greek philosopher Aristotle described the best form of constitution of or government is polity. Politics as a practical activity. Politics as a practical activity is the discourse and the struggle over organization of human possibilities. Politics is about power. That is to say, it is about the capacity of social agents, agencies, and institutions to maintain or transform their environment, social and physical. Now, political is about the resources which underpin this capacity and about the forces that shape and influence its exercise. Politics is phenomenal found in all groups, institutions, and societies cutting across private and public life. Now, public politics difficult to define exactly, या कहें precisely. It is very difficult to define and explain the fixed meaning of politics. Politics in terms which merit uses and nuances. Perhaps the nearest we can come to a capsule statement is this. Politics is the activity by which groups reach binding collective decisions through attempting to reconcile differences among their members. Now, nature of politics. Politics is collective activity involving people who accept a common membership or at least acknowledge a shared fate. Politics presumes at initial diversity of views, if not about goals, then at least about means. Politics involves reconciling such differences thought through discusses. Communication is therefore central to politics. Repeat, communication is therefore central to politics. Political decisions become authoritative policy from a group, binding member to decisions that are implemented by force if necessary. Now, politics and acceptable feature of human condition. Politics and insectable future of human condition. Aristotle argue that philosopher Aristotle argue that man is by nature a political animal. Famous quotation: Aristotle argued that man is by nature a political animal. By this he meant not just that politics is unavoidable, but rather that it is an essential human activity. Political engagement is the feature which most sharply separated us from other species. Similarly, points out another theorist Sively points out political action may be interpreted as a way to work or rest out rationally the best common situation solution to a common problem, or at least a way to work out a reasonable common solution. That is politics consists of public choice. Now we will discuss what is politics. If one starts with a definition couched in terms of the activity of politicians, one might say that politics concerns with rivalries of politicians in their struggle for power. Struggle for power is main concept of politics. There would also probably be agreement that politics refer to the relationship between states on a international scale. Politics is about power and how it is distributed. Main thing is about power and how it distributed among others, group, state, others sector. According to Max Weber, another publication philosopher, Max Weber, the concept of politics was extremely broad-based and comprises and kind of independent leadership in actions. Politics exists in any context where there is a structure of power, and struggle for power is an attempt to gain or maintain leadership positions. In this sense, one can speak about the politics of trade unions. Example, one can speak about the politics of trade unions or about university politics, student unions. But broader sense, politics is related to state activity. Mainly politics को हम consider कर रहे हैं. Broader sense, politics is related to the state activities. Now, what it is state? To know about the meaning of state, first of all, it must first be noted that there are various forms of the state which differ from one another is important ways. The Greek city state is clearly different from the modern nation state. Difference from the modern nation state, which has dominated world politics since the French Revolution. The contemporary liberal democratic state, which exists in Britain and Western Europe, is different from the fascism type state of Hitler or Mussolini. It is also different from the state which exists in the former USSR and Eastern Europe. Former USSR and in Eastern Europe. Now we will discuss about state. State differences on account of political institutions, social contact. Mainly हम difference कर रहे हैं. Differences about of political institutions, social context. State differs in terms of their political institution as well as in terms of the social context within which they are situated and which they are trying to maintain. So, while the liberal democratic state is characterized by representative institutions, such as parliament and an independent judiciary, and in a frisian, leaders control the state. Frisian, leaders control the state. With respect to the social contact, now we will discuss about social contact of a state. The crucial contrast in between Western and Soviet type system is so far as the former as embedded in society, which is organized according to the principle of capitalist economy, which in the latter case the productive resources of society are owned and controlled by the state. Rolf Miliband's views on state. Major important topic. Rolf Miliband's views on state. In his book, The State is Capitalist Society. Book's name is The State in Capitalist Society. Ralph Miliband registered those different elements which together constitute the state. Number one, first is government. Second is administrative elements like bureaucracy. Third is military and the police, mainly related to force, military and the police. Fourth is judiciary, yani judiciary aspects of states. Fifth is element is the local government. There are Rolf Miliband's view on state, described in his book The State in Capitalist Society. Now, various form of state. In the process of historical evolution of state, there have been following forms: tribal state, Oriental Empire, Greek city state, Roman world empire, feudal state, and the modern nation state. Mainly modern nation state. This is the evolution of state, yeah, various form of state. The modern nation state arose from the Treaty of Westphalia, was signed in 1648. Westphalia Treaty signed in 1648. American and French revolutions further contribute in emergence of nation states. The modern concept of state is dominated by liberal and Marxist perspective, mainly dominated by liberal and Marxist perspectives. Now, in 20th century, liberalism is associated with welfare state, which tries to reconcile individuals' liberty with social good. The Marxist notion rejects liberal idea of state, calling the state as a instrument of class and seeks to establish classless and stateless society. Mainly establish a classless and stateless society through the proletarian revolution. Proletarian revolution. Now, politics as a vocation. Politics as a vocation. The state, Weber wrote, it is human community that successfully claims the monopoly of legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. Within a given territory, land, state, country. There are three distinct elements combined here: a given territory or geographical area which the state controls, the use of physical force to maintain its control, and thirdly, but most important, third measure is but most important, the monopoly of legitimate use of such force or concerns, mainly is government. And Karl Marx, another important philosopher, Karl Marx wrote in 18 Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte about the growth of state power in France, about the growth of state power in France, which he saw as typical of the modern state. He describes how through socialism, eventually the state will be abolished and society would govern itself without a specialized specialized application of repressions. The legitimate use of power, all holders of power try to get those who are subject to their rule to believe in the rightness and justness of the power. The Fine. Mainly, all holders of power to try to get those are subject to their rule to believe in the rightness and justice, mainly justice of the power they wield. This attempt at justification is ordered to make people constitute the process of legitimation. Once can refer to such justifies or accepted power as authority. Accepted power as authority. To distinguish is from such power as obeyed only because of a fear of sanctions. In such a situation of legitimate power of authority, people obey because they think it is right to do so. People obey because they think it is right to do so. Max Weber on legitimation. According to Max Weber, there are three types of legitimation. According to Max Weber, political philosophy and political theory and major role in public administration. According to Max Weber, there are three types of legitimation. The first type pertains to traditional domination. First type is related to traditional approach. That first type pertain to traditional domination. Their power is justified because the holders of power can appeal to traditional and habit. Authority has always been vested in them personally or in their families. The second type is charismatic legitimation. First one is traditional domination, and second one is charismatic legitimation, described by Max Weber. People obey their power holder because of the exceptional personal qualities of display by the leader, by the leaders. Leader is main role in legitimation by is charismatic legitimation. Finally, the third type is of the legal rational kind. Measure is legal rational kind. People obey certain person who are authorized by specific rule to command in strictly defined spheres of action. Defined sphere of action, mainly related to constitution या एक legitimation. लेजिटिमेशन सेंट्रल कंसर्न ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस मेनली हम कंसिडर कर रहे हैं लेजिटिमेशन सेंट्रल कंसर्न ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस सी राइट्स मिल यूएस से रिलेटेड सी राइट्स मिल पुट्स इट the idea of legitimation is one of the central concept of political science, one of the central concept of political science. Just a minute. Now, it is crucial is studying any political system to investigate the degree to which people accept the accept existing power structure as legitimate, described by right means, and thus how much the structure rests on consent as concerns, distinct from consent. Allied theorist, allied theorist Mosca says that political formulas of any political system is legitimacy. Process of delegitimation. This explain this explains why a revolution is often preceded by a period when the dominating ideas of the system are subjected to sustained criticism. One may call this is a process of delegitimation. This is the opposite of legitimation is delegitimation, whereby the idea which justify the existing structure of power come under attack. Long before the fall of the ancient regime in France, the idea of divine right related to religious right, idea of divine rights and of autocracy were ridiculed and by the philosopher, refuted by the philosophers. The critics of the absolute state, such as moment of delegitimation, contributes to undermine the founder of the order. This is the delegitimation in Western world, basically France. In a general sense, must be that any system loses in its stability once it ceases to enjoy in eyes of its subjectives, mainly population. Manipulated consent An important dimension of power is the capacity to affect and mold people's consciousness, consciousness, people's consciousness, so that they will accept the existing power of affairs without ever becoming aware of alternative possibilities. Consent, they becomes manipulated consent. Mainly is monarchy system. We review the after that. An important dimension of power is the capacity to affect and mold people's consciousness, and so that they will accept the existing state of affairs without ever becoming aware of alternative possibilities. Consent then become manipulated consent. In Marxist language, mainly considered by Marx, in Marxist language, such manipulated consent would eventually produce a false consciousness described by Marxist language, a Marxist approach. Now, personals of the state machine, the elite. The composition of the state elite, the composition of state elite is an important problem in the study of politics. JAC Griffith in the politics of the judiciary exemplifies that what is meant by the term elite, state elite. Major term state elite, which refer to a study done earlier. It shows that in Britain, in broad terms, 4 out of 5 full-time professional judges are produced of the elite class, mainly and defined as elite class. 4 out of 5 full-time professional judges are produced of elite. Marxist theory will view the matter differently. They rejected this idea. They would accord less importance to the nature of the state elite. Mainly, Marxist theory criticized the elite concept of state, yeah, state machine. They would accord less importance to the nature of the state elite. The argument would rather be that the purpose and the aims of state activity are determined less by the elite, but far more by the social context and the economic framework within which the state is located. Now, we will discuss again Max Weber discuss about device. If one started is with this definition counts in terms of the activities of politician, one might say that politics concern the rivalries of politicians in their struggle for power. What is politics? The struggle for power. Therefore, would also probably be agreement that politics refer to the relationship between states on a international scale. Politics is about power and how it is distributed. Now, according to Max Weber, the concept of politics was extremely broad-based and comprised any kind of independent leadership in action. Now, Max Weber also mean Rolf Miliband views on state. There are 4 major objectives of this unit. Is one is can understand what is politics and what is politics related to power. Yeah, human possibilities, organization of human possibilities. Now, second one is can explain the meaning of state. Meaning of state mainly uh, Rolf Miliband views of state. Second objective is meaning of state. In his book, The State is Capitalist Society, Rolf Miliband registered those different elements which together constitute the state. First is we discussed previous government. Second is administrative elements. Third is military and the police. Fourth is judiciary. Fifth is element in the local government. Now, third objective of this first unit, what is politics, describes and explain the concept of power and concept of power related to Concept of power. All holders of power try to get those who are subject to their rule to believe in rightness and justness of the power they wield. This attempt and justification in order to make people consent constitute the process of legitimation. One can refer to such justified or accepted power as authority. To distinguish is it from such power as it obeyed only because of a fear of sanctions. In such a situation of legitimate power or authority, people obey because they think it is right to do. This is power. How to legitimate use of power? There are the main concern legitimate use of power. Max Weber. Again, we repeated Max again on legitimation. The first type pretends to traditional dimensions. There are three types of legitimation referred by Max Weber. This is the political philosopher. You can see read in about in public administration. First is traditional domination. Second type is charismatic legitimation. Third is legal rational kind related to democracy. Yeah, bureaucracy. Considering current time. First one, traditional domination, their power is justified because the holders of power can appeal to tradition and habits. In habits, authority has always been vested in them personally or in their families. Now, the second type is charismatic legitimation. People obey the power holders because of the exceptional personal qualities displayed by the leaders. Finally, the third type is of the legal rational kind. People obey certain persons who are authorized by specific rule to command in strictly defined spheres of action. Now, Unit 1 is completed. We discuss what is politics, what is meaning of state, and explain concept of power and what is legitimation and delegitimation. And finally, block 1 related to introducing political theory. First unit is completed what is politics, and next class we will discuss about second unit what is political theory. But concern about first is what is politics, then we complete what is political theory. And in exam question related to what is politics and what is power coming in exam. Now we have what is politics unit 1. Next class we will discuss about what is political theory. Thank you so much to join the class. Thank you. Namaste. Unit 1, what is politics? There are some objectives related to Unit 1, what is politics? Can understand what is politics, can explain the meaning of state. Third one is describe and explain the concept of power. Fourth is discuss and explain about legitimation and delegitimation. Now, introduction about politics. The term politics is driven from the Greek word polish, meaning both city and state. We will discuss major concept of Unit 1. So, city and state refer by polish. Politics among the ancient Greeks was a new way of thinking, feeling, and above all being related to one's fellows. Greek political studies dealt with constitutions and made generalization about the relation between human nature and political associations. Now, and the most powerful component was the theory of recurrent circle in Greek politics. Monarchies tend to degenerate into tyranny. Tyrannies are overthrown by aristocracy, which degenerate into oligarchies, exploiting the population, which are overthrown by democracies, which is then degenerated into intolerable instability of mob rule, whereupon some powerful leader established himself as a monarch, and this cycle began all over again. Greek philosopher, main famous philosopher, Greek philosopher Aristotle, we can consider as a Western philosopher. Aristotle described the best way of constitution or government is politics. They are the circle theory of Aristotle. First one is training, then aristocracy, then oligarchy, then democracy. After that, we come in polity. Polity is major concept by given by Aristotle. Now, politics as a practical activity. Political as a practical activity is the discourse and the struggle over organization of human possibilities. Politics is art. all about power. Related to power, major thing is considered by politics is power. That is to say, it is about the capacity of social agents, agencies, and institutions to maintain or transform their environment, social and physical. Politics is about the resources which underpin the capacity and about the forces that shape and influence in exercise. Politics is a phenomenon found in all groups, institutions, and societies, cutting across private and public. Major thing is public and private life. Politics difficult to define precisely. Exactly. It is very difficult to define and explain the fixed meaning of politics. Politics is a term which very use these nuances. Perhaps the nearest we can come to capsule statement in this politics is actively by which groups reach binding collective decisions through attempting to reconcile difference among their members. Now, nature of politics. Politics is collective activity involving people who concept a common membership or at least acknowledge or a share faith. Acknowledge a share faith. Politics presume an initial diversity of views, if not about goals, then at least about means. Politics involves reconciling such differences through discussion. Mainly, communication is therefore central to politics. Communication is therefore central to communication. Discussion, communication. Political decisions become authoritative policy for a group, binding members to decisions that are implemented by force is necessary. Sorry. Now, politics an inacceptable feature of human condition. Aristotle argues that man is by nature a political animal. Man is by nature a political animal. Refer by great philosopher, yeah, ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. By this, he meant not just that politics is unavoidable, but rather that is a essential human activity related to politics. Essential human activity is politics. Political engagement is the feature which most sharply separated us from other species. Similarly, points out political action may be interpreted as a way to work out rational, the best common solution to a common problem, or at least a way to work out a reasonable common solution. That is, politics consist of public choice. What is politics? If one starts with a definition couched in terms of the activities of politicians, one might say that politics concern the liability of politicians in their struggle for power. Mainly, politics related to struggle for power. Main concern is power in politics. There would also probably be agreement that politics refer to the relationship between state on a international scale, internal politics and external politics, international scales. Politics is about power and how it is distributed. According to Max Weber, the concept of politics was extremely broad-based and comprises and any kind of independent leadership in action. Politics exists in any context where there is a structure of power, and struggle for power is an attempt to gain or maintain leadership positions. In this sense, one can speak about the politics of trade unions or about university politics. Some are example trade unions or about university politics like student unions, NSUI, ABV. But broader sense, politics is related to the state activity. In broader sense, politics is related to the state activity, mainly nation activity. Now, what is a state? To know about the meaning state, first of all, it must first to be noted that there are various forms of the state which differ from one another is important ways. The Greek city state is clearly different from the modern national state, nation state, which has dominated world politics since the French Revolution. The contemporary liberal democratic state, which exists in Britain and Western Europe, is different from the fascist type state of Hitler or Mussolini, mainly Italy and Germany. It is also different from the state which exists in the former USSR in Eastern Europe. Now, state difference on account of political institution and social context, political institution and organization and social context. States differ in terms of their politics institution as well as in terms of social context within which they are situated and which they try to maintain. So, while the liberal democratic state is characterized by representative institutions such as parliament, their parliament in India, institutions such as parliament and independent judiciary and it freedom leaders control the state which respect to the social context. The crucial contract is between Western and Soviet type system insofar as the former are embedded in a society which is organized according to the principle of a capitalist economy, which is the later case the productive resources of society are owned and controlled by the state. Now, other repeated major concept of state, major view on state is Rolf Millibaud views on state. In his books, The State is Capitalist Society, Rolf Millibaud registered those different elements which together constitute the state. First is government. Second one is administrative element like bureaucracy, officer. Third is related to force, example, military and the police. Fourth is related to judiciary system. Fifth is element is the local government. First one is government. Second is administrative elements like bureaucracy. Third is related to force, example, military and the police. Fourth is judiciary system. Fifth element is the local government. Referred by Rolf Milliman. Now, various form of state. In the process of historical evolution of a state, there have been following forms: tribal state, Oriental Empire, Greek city state, Roman world empire, feudal state, and the modern nation state. This is the sequence of how to immerse a state in various form of state. In modern time, we are meaning by state is nation state. This concept emerged by Westphalia Treaty. The modern nation state arose from the Treaty of Westphalia, was signed in 1648. American and French revolutions further contribute to emergence of nationalism. First one is Westphalia Treaty signed in 1648, and now in Western world, America and French Revolution further contribute to emergence of nation-state concept. The modern concept of state is dominated by two ideology, two approaches. First one is liberal, and second one is Marxist perspective, concept, approach, etc. Now, in 20th century, liberalism is associated with welfare state, which tries to reconcile individual liberty with social good. The Marxist notion rejects liberal idea of state, calling the state as an instrument of class and seeks to establish a classless and stateless society through the proletarian revolution. Now, politics as a vocation. This state, Max Weber wrote, is in a human community that successfully claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. There are three distinct elements combined here: a given territory or geographical area, which the state controls the use of physical force to maintain its control, and thirdly, but most important, the monopoly of the legitimate use of such force or concern. Max Weber brought in, sorry, Karl Marx wrote in 18 Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte about the growth of state power in France. Example is French, which he saw as typical of the modern state. He describes how through socialism, eventually the state will be abolished and society will govern itself without a specialized apparatus of repressions. The legitimate use of power. The legitimate use of power, all holders of power try to get those who are subject to their rule to believe in the rightness and justness of the power. They will. The attempt and justification is right to make people consent constitute the process of legitimation. One can refer to such justified or accept power as authority to distinguish it from such power as it obey only because of a fear of sanctions. In such a situation of legitimate power or authority, people obey because they think it is right to do so. Now we will discuss Max Weber concept on legitimation. According to Weber, there are three types of legitimation. We are repeating. First one is traditional domination. Their power is justified because the holder of power can appeal to tradition and habit. Authority has always been vested in their personally or in their families. Second type is charismatic legitimation. First one is traditional domination, and second one is charismatic legitimation. People obey the power holders because of the ex- exceptional personal qualities. There are different qualities in leaders. Exceptional personal quality displayed by the different from others. Finally, example Modi, Hitler, uh, USSR, Donald Trump, Manmohan Singh. There are some major qualities, personal quality in leaders. This is called charismatic leaders, legitimate, like Narendra Modi, PM Narendra Modi, and Nehru. Finally, the third types of the legal rational kind, people obey certain persons who are authorized by specific rule to command in strictly defined spheres of actions. Legitimation, central concern of political science. C. Wright Mills put it, the idea of legitimation is one of the central conception of political science. Wright Mills claim that central conception of political science is legitimation. It is crucial is study any political system to investigate the degree to which people accept the executing power structure as legitimate, and this how much the structure rests on consent as distinct from consent. Elite theories, Mosca theorist Mosca says that political formula of any political system is legitimacy. Now, process of delegitimation. This explains why a revolution is often preceded by a period when the dominating ideas of the system are subjected to sustained criticism. One may call this is a process of delegitimation, whereby the idea which justify the existing structure of power come under attack. Long before the fall of the ancient regime in France, the idea of divine right related to religious and of autocracy were ridiculed and refuted by the philosophers. The critics of the absolute state, such as movement of delegitimation, contributed to undermine the foundation of the old order. In general sense, must be that any system loses its stability once it ceases to enjoy legitimacy in the eyes of its subjects, mainly population, citizens. Manipulated consent, an important dimension of power is the capacity to affect and mold people consciousness so that they will accept the existing state of affairs without ever becoming aware of alternative possibilities. Consent then become manipulative consent. Now, in Marxist language, such manipulative consent would eventually produce a false consciousness. False conscious refer by Marxist language, a Marxist approach. Now, personals of the state machine, the elite class theory. The composition of state elite is an important problem in the study of politics. J.A.C. Griffith in The Politics of the Judiciary. Book name is The Politics of the Judiciary. Exemplifies what is meant by the term state elite, which referred to a study done earlier. It shows that in Britain, in broad terms, 4 out of 5 full-time personal judges are produced of the elite. Marxist theories would view the matter differently. They would accord less importance to the nature of the state elite. The argument would rather be that the purpose and the aim of state activity determined determined less by the elite, but far more by the social context and the economic framework within which the state system is located. Now we will complete our first unit and we discuss about little bit in second unit. This name is what is political theory. First unit related to what is politics. When I discuss about what is political theory, there are some objectives of what is political theory. One is distinguish political theory from other similar terms. Distinguish political theory from other similar terms. Examine whether political theory is deal. And third is now various approach to study political theory. In roadmap, we will discuss in next class some objective in depth and political theory and other interrelated terms like what is theory, what is political, what is philosophy, what is political philosophy, what is politics, and what is theory, and what is political theory, and what is political philosophy. We will consider and discuss about in second class. And after that, development in political, how is evolution of political theory, we will discuss in next class. And importance of key theoretical concepts, there are some major concept of political theory we will discuss in next class, like in political theory that and how is revive of political theory. First one is that, and now 90 after 1960, how to reveal of political theory. And we also concept of uh, John Rawls theory of justice. And after that, we will discuss is major part of second unit is approaches in political theory. First one is historical approach. Second one is normative approach. Third is the one is empirical approach, and fourth one is contemporary approach. They are continuing run in political theory. Some major idea puts in now political theory. So there are four major theories approaches in political theory. First one is historical approach, second one is normative approach, third one is empirical approach, fourth one is contemporary approach. And there are the introduction we will discuss in next class. Mainly we will concept that in second we will concept there are some major concept we will discuss in block second and block third. Second block concept refer to unit 3 liberty, unit 4 equality, unit 5 justice, unit 6 rights. Unit 7 related in block 3, there are some major concept of political theory. One is democracy, unit 8 is gender. Now we difference between we discuss and explain about difference between gender and sex. And ninth is citizenship related to your human rights, citizens rights. Second and 10 unit number 10 civil society and state. we will discuss about major what is the role of civil society and what is the relation between civil society and state and how it is run, and we are joined with civil society. We are the part of civil society and we are the part also in state. Now, Block 4, debates in political theory. There are four major units. Unit 11, democracy versus economic growth. There is interdisciplinary approach is democracy versus economic growth. The first one is political science concept and second one economics concept and economic growth. Now, unit number 12, related to liberties versus censorship. You have to right to vote. You have to right to speech. Article 19 in fundamental rights, you have to right to speech, you have to right to debate, you have to right to view, you have to right to opinion. There is unit 12, liberties versus censorship, and unit 13, protective discrimination versus principle of fairness. Protective discrimination related to reservation policy. In positive sense, we discuss is we term using protective discrimination, yeah, alternative discrimination, yeah, positive discrimination versus principle of fairness. Fairness is just society, is the referred to a reservation policy. And unit number 14, family, law, and state. Now, there are fair major block in our paper in BPSC 131, Introduction to Political Theory. Course content, block 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will discuss in today class what is politics, unit number 1, and next class we will discuss what is political theory. We will discuss about political theory and other interrelated terms. For second words, definition of political theory, importance of key theoretical concept of political theory, like and its political theory dates, question mark, its political theory dates and how it revive reemerge political theory we will discuss in next class. And some approaches in political theory like historical approach, normative approach, empirical approach, and contemporary approach. Now we have what is politics, unit 1 is completed. Next unit what is political theory, discuss about in next class. Thank you so much to join the class.